Tibetan Buddhist Dharma Center here on the island of Kauai. I'm Lama Tashi. We hold this class every week, Thursday night, 6 to 8 o'clock, and it's recorded and put on our website, kauaidharma.org. Tonight's practice is based on the tradition of Tibetan Buddhist shamanistic Lamaism, which holds the Lama as the spiritual teacher and transmission of all the lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. And all of them are practiced with what we call a non-sectarian view. So all the lamas and all the lineages are appropriate for mind training in yoga. Mind training in yoga and meditation practice, using the Sutra and Tantric tradition as transmitted through the Buddha Shakyamuni 2,600 years ago, and then carried through India and Tibet to the Western world down to the present time. As a practitioner of Tibetan Buddhism, my main take on what we do, and we means Sangha, us practitioners, is not only connecting to the Buddha, but most importantly, the methods that the Buddha taught that have been transmitted down to us over time that are practical. And my word is practical. Practical is, I learned the basics of being practical from my mother, who was atheistic is the best. Yes. But in her approach to being a good person, and she actually acknowledged I was a person when I was 6 years old, which I was kind of taken back to hear that. But in her way, she explained what that meant. And that's a very practical notion that we should entertain as Buddhists or as practitioners of mind training. This notion of being a person means you accept people for what they are, not what they do. And what that means is you're interested in their well-being, and you approach them with a sense of heartfelt kindness or interest in their well-being, which translate more into what we call compassion, which is the theme of all of the Buddhist teaching. And this basis of loving kindness, you must extend it to yourself to begin with. Well, most people don't accept themselves as a person. They have this reactive, in place way of being, which is strengthened by how society treats them, is a good word, or accepts them, but in their relationship. And this reaction is based on judgment and emotions that are kind of already in place. And it distorts the reality of whoever you're engaged with in relationships and so forth, family, friends, relatives, and lovers, as non-persons. So if the way to come onto another individual is to accept them as a person, then right away you're interested in their well-being, not in what they could do for you, which is what I call the reactionary way that most of us are on this planet. And I like to use the word most of us, but it's not all of it. So this reactionary situation we call the drama world, or the drama mind, or the relative mind, is the norm. And so individually and in some cases collectively, we are engaged on transforming that into something more not only realistic, but beneficial or appropriate. And that's what we're taking refuge in the Buddhist tradition, and specifically in the shamanistic tradition, because in shamanism, we not only extend it to each other, this idea of loving kindness and compassion, which deals with that reactionary tendency that most of us have, judgment and emotional discourse. But we also extend it to the natural world, our environment, and the animals and the spirits that inhabit the environment. And I'm talking about the total environment, our body, and everything outside and around it, as far as we can see. And like Abby and I were discussing earlier, what is a symbol of this? Well, she showed me a beautiful picture of the sky reflected in the ocean in a tidal pool with a big black rock in the middle of it. Very beautiful picture. And she says, what can you say about this? I says, well, simply said, that's the simplicity of who we are as persons. Our natural state, and knowing this natural state, is like the reflection of the sky and water. And that's as simple as you get, but too simple for most people to identify, acknowledge, not identify, acknowledge. And so she put that out in her message every day.
Facebook.
On what?
Facebook.
She put it out on Facebook. Who's Facebook?
Yours.
I don't even know I have a Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Now I know. I'm out there. Okay. So that said, now we know. Tonight's practice is based on the female aspect of the energy program of our world, inseparable from our inner state of awareness, whether it be awareness of the drama and all of that, or whether it be the awareness of our wisdom nature and all of that. So we have two natures to deal with. The outer one we call the relative nature. That's where we get relatives. Everybody's our relative. The inner nature is about how to deal with it. That's what we call the natural or the wisdom nature. And it's inherent in all so-called sentient beings. And when I categorize sentient beings, when we categorize it, it's not just humans, it's those animals and spirits that inhabit our body and the environment and the universe. So that is shamanistic Lama. And before we take refuge, and before we do practices we're going to do tonight, which are based on Tara and what we call the powerful, wrathful aspect of Tara, Vajrayogini, we're going to give that initiation and practice tonight. I'm going to read a little simple excerpt from my book of Perfect Clarity. And just to reference who said this, I have to go back a few pages, was a woman Lama named Pema Karpo. Karpo means white mother. Anyway, it says, in shamanistic Lamaism, training in the yoga of simplicity, there are actually three parts of this yoga. But the most simplest part is the first is examining the terms of what is called the three times: the past, the present, and the future. when we approach this with mind training, we're dealing with our thoughts. And the thoughts of the past have ceased and disappeared. The future thoughts have not arisen yet, nor appeared. The present thoughts cannot be pinpointed in any way whatsoever because they've already gone into the past by the time you acknowledge them. So there is no present. But the key word here is acknowledge. Well, that's a term for awareness. It says, analyzing anything in this way, you are simply scrutinizing the nature of all phenomena. Understanding this notion, everything is devoid of reality and is merely labeled by one's own mind. Therefore, each and every one of us is a creator of our own universe. Therefore, possessing no arising, no ceasing, or no remaining is how we deal with this term time. And that which, and then it says further, that which arises in time as concrete has completely subsided like the sky. And that's why I made reference to your natural state as the reflection of the sky and water, which have we put on Facebook. All concreteness is abandoned through practice, but this abandonment must be understood as useful. Therefore, what are you really abandoning is the idea of your self-existence as an entity. That's tough. And as the Guru said in the teachings, the key word through practice is realizing that that is practice. And that's why I started the class with that, my idea of Dharma. All of nature is presented in this way, in its simplicity, as energy. So if you want to think of the real nature of your thoughts and everything that exists as energy, it's like the reflection of the sky in water, which we translate into space. So energy is just, in its simplicity, is space and the light of whatever appears in space as energy. And that energy is what we are transforming through these practices. So we're transforming from the drama idea or the reactionary idea of always judging everything as how it can be useful to the I, me, mind setup, the ego, and reversing that as how we can be kind and considerate and loving and whatever at the very beginning of any relationship. And that is what we call the Sangha of Tibetan Buddhism, the Sangha. The Dharma is the practicality of being in the Sangha, and the Buddha is the actual sky reflecting in the water. And we all have that nature. If we didn't have that nature, we would be forever stuck in the drama field. Forever. But since we're not eternalists or nihilists, we don't go there. We stay somewhere between those two extremes. Creationism or nihilism. Okay? The universe is not created by any entity, it's self-existing. We can't find a beginning, a middle, or an end to it. And when we look at our mind, it's exactly that way. So ultimately, you'll come to the conclusion that your mind and this universe are the same thing. And in that way, maybe everything will get better. It does get better. It's called the wish fulfilling gene. I have another part of this book I'm going to read, but that applies to the practice of Tara, so we'll save that. Now we take refuge. Now we know why we're taking that. And we have our refuge sheet. And we'll start with the English of the altruistic motivation. Then we'll read the sixfold refuge prayer, and then the Bodhisattva prayer. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings, our mothers, we now altogether take refuge and offer prostration. We go for refuge to all holy moments. We go for refuge to all yidams, the deities gathered in our mandala practice. We go for refuge to all Buddhas, those who have conquered mind and gone beyond. We go for refuge to all of this supreme Dharma. We go for refuge to all of the noble Sangha. And we go for refuge to all Dakas and Dakinis, who are the protectors and defenders of Dharma. All of these possessing the eye of transcending awareness. Then to the Buddha, Dharma, and this Supreme Assembly, we go for refuge until enlightenment. May I, through merit gained from practicing the six Bodhisattva perfection, accomplish Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. Now we're going to say this in Sanskrit to communicate to the spirits in and around us that we're on their side, that we're interested in their well-being. And I'll just chant the first part of the altruistic motivation, and then we'll together chant the refuge and Bodhisattva. Da dam yo wang dam ke da dam yam pe sem chan dam che du di ne ju te ji si jen shu ning po la chi ki bar du. Then lama dam pa nam ma shat su chi yo. Yedam shoko yi latso namwa chatsu chiyo. Sanjay shom dende namwa chatsu chiyo. Dambe chur namwa chatsu chiyo. Dambe gendu namwa chatsu chiyo. Pao Kandro Shokyu Some Sho Yeshe Ki Shendam Dempa Nama Chatsu Chiyo. Sanjay Chodam Choki Chonam Nam Jechu Bardu Daki Chatsu Chiyo. Dagi Jen So Ji Pe So Nam Ki So La Pen Sher Sam Je Ju Ban Ju. By the way, here on Comey Street, this is the Comey Street table. When your hands are like this is the symbol of devotion and respect for yourself, everybody else, specifically in our tradition, the teachers, but also to the environment. And these five fingers and these five fingers brought together, these are the five elements of the outer world. We call the Dakini, the mother end. This is what supports it. These are your five wisdom, inherent wisdom energies, being bodhisattvas. Actually, we're Buddhists, but we have to kind of work on that. So these are together, but in between is space. Okay? And this is called, what you're holding, this is the wish-fulfilling jewel of the practice of the Dharma. And it doesn't activate unless you practice. You can connect to the Buddha mind and experience that and realize it. You can be in a Sangha and have all the niceties of that. But the actual effect is this energy transmission of using those two to practice. And it starts inside and then it just spontaneously flows out. And you don't have to really think about you're doing something, you're changing something. It's an effect. And it's effect of the practice of the energies of the practice. So what you are receiving is this transmission of the energy of the mind of the teacher as a connection to a lineage of many, many men and women in present time, but all the way back 2,600 years to Shakyamuni Buddha. Well, that's a lot of energy. Incalculable. Okay? The word infinite kind of suggests something like God or something supernatural, but it's not. It's just a natural flowing transmission where you can learn to be friends with yourself. It's called coming face to face with your own faith. who you see in the mirror. Okay? But what starts happening is when you look at yourself in the mirror, there's other images there that you place through practice in your consciousness. So it's not the same image. And, in practice, one in Tantra, especially, right away we start to put the mother that created us as the yidam of whatever tantric practice we do. And it doesn't matter what yidam, there's peaceful or wrathful, and there's hundreds of each. Doesn't matter male or female. But then that mother image is transferred to all the mothers that you've had for uncountable lifetimes. And if you want to, you can project it into the future, which we said didn't exist, of all the mothers you're going to have in the future. So that's what we're going to do. That's the kind of energy we're working with tonight, in fact. And in this particular situation, it starts with Tara. Okay, this image over my left shoulder, the mother principle. And to relate to that, before we actually do a meditation practice, we'll do a meditation practice and then we'll introduce. Tonight we're going to do Vajrayogini in one of her aspects, which is every deity has their own aspect, which is an app, like on your cell phone. Every deity has their own aspect because they have a particular application. In reality, all the deities are the same on three levels: the transmission of your body, speech, and mind, which is what we're doing, practice, to compassion, power, and insight. That condenses it all. But when you go into the deities, they're called yidams, which means the illusory aspect. It's to train you to understand that the energy field that we're in, whether it be inside or outside, this shared outside, is simply energy itself. And because of that, you can transform it. You can change it. You can take out its harmful connotations and aspects. Does that mean you're free of karma? No. Because you don't know what you did in all those past lives. You could have been a real weirdo, Not so nice. But in any case, this transformation helps to clear that and the karmic effects of all that, the negative karmic effects, and take the positive of what you've done and amplify it. So when you use a symbol, the simplest symbol of radiation or light or fire, we use fire because we're talking about the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. We use a red 4-sided pyramid. And what are we doing with these elements by meditating? You're changing the process in your mind. It's called the psychological, the psyche, of idea about these outer elements, earth, water, fire, and air, and how you've been relating to them as an internal thing going on. yes, it's all out here going on, and it's wonderful, and you can go out and be in nature. It's very healthy, enjoyable. Well, inside it's the same way. It's very healthy and it's enjoyable. And it's not hard to do this meditation. So that's why my lineage master called Rinpoche taught it to us in the 60s before he got into all the yidams, the male and female deity, because they represent that elemental aspect of healing, whether they're outside or inside. If you use them inside in meditation, then they start to work to heal you. Well, all of Tibetan Buddhism is about Buddha as medicine. So the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha is all medicine. And this goes back thousands and thousands of years to China and India and other, what we call tribal situations. It's how the human race has survived or evolved. And so tonight, using this, the reason I'm explaining this because it was asked today, what does these 5 elements do? Why do they do it? Well, you should know that they're doing it because your mind has that kind of power. You know, we're very restricted emotionally and judgmentally. And we're restricted in the relationship to the outer world. If we go to the beach, or just the beach. There's a lot of things going on. Just walking on the sand, there's a lot of coming up from the earth. The air you're breathing it's usually very more healthy. The sunlight, the wave action, the water element, all of that is healing you. That's why people come to Hawaii. It's nice to healing. And so here we are. So inside the same thing. There's no limit to it. The mind does not have a limit. The mind is all pervasive. It doesn't have a power restriction. And especially in the female form. Okay? Now that doesn't mean the guys are lesser, it just means they don't have the same qualifications as the women because they're the ones that are bringing us into the world, so they have to have a little edge. And they do. And my mother never let me forget that. And she was big, bad, beautiful redhead with lots of freckles. So the fire. When you create this in your third eye's consciousness, you're activating imagination, which is a mental function that a lot of people don't use. But it's so powerful and so effective that all of Tibetan Buddhism, shamanism, is based on this principle using the imagination, all the sutra and all the tantra. Why? So that you get used to being or acknowledging the illusory nature of this world around you and your own body. The illusory nature. And my way of depicting this is like walking into a movie theater that's showing 3D movies. And you walk in there and you can't see the 3D movie in 3D unless you have the glasses. Okay? Now when you put those glasses on, the whole energy program changes. And that's what you're doing with this imagination. It's your 3D glasses. And it's called the third eye, or this mental process activated. And where do you start with it is you start in the same way as you walk into a theater. There's a screen up there, but there's nothing on the screen. Well, your mind is the same way. Its basic nature is void, like space. It's not space, it's like space. They have another way of saying it. It's like a dream, but it's not a dream. It has similarity. Okay, but what we want to know is that you can manage it. you can be the producer, the director of your situation, each individual, as long as it's appropriate, as long as it's practical, based on loving kindness and consideration for the environment and everybody in it. And of course, there's no such thing as separation, and we know that. And that's what we call our Buddha nature. So sit with your back straight. Now you can do this laying, standing, walking, sitting down when you get good at it. But we start in a sitting position on a cushion or in a chair to be comfortable. But the back straight energy is important to get this flow going through the torso. From head to throat to heart to navel to section, chakra. Then hands in a comfortable position, either on your knees or in your lap. Head slightly tilted a little bit forward. Mouth closed to start with, unless you can't breathe through your nose. And eyes bringing in the energy of the light in the space directly in front of you to start the healing process systemically, which means this brain does that. It passes that through every cell in your body, just that. So without doing anything, acknowledge these 5 positions. They're called mudras. There's more mudras, but this is the easiest one. Now you have started what is called the healing process just by this positioning. And now we're going to activate not only the imagination, but what we call focus or meditation. To do that, we use the breath. It's with us all the time. As you inhale, you imagine the air coming into your lungs is white light. So the first of the code of healing is this energy as white light into your lungs. The second part of the code or practice is to imagine that energy as like radiation, red in color, passing through your body through every cell. For as long as you hold the in-breath, the absorption breath. Then you blend these two together and exhale them out your nose, imagining blue light going everywhere. We say to the space or to the sky. It's called the healing breath. So inhale white light through your lungs. The energy of that air, all the 5 elements combined into one, passing through your body is healing energy, red light. And then the blue light shared throughout space to everyone and to your environment. And now you are enjoying the sound of silence. And this silence relates to the element space, or to the energy of light throughout space, like our sun. They say our sun is noisy, but humans don't experience that. Inhale white light, energy through the body to heal every cell. Red light, this powerful force together out the nose is blue light shared throughout space. Then we move to the next step of the practice to activate the energy or increase its effect. And the technique or method is to simply gather these three lights into one. So the white, red, and blue is gathered into a tiny particle of energy similar to an atom. And at the same time, you remove your focus from the breath and simply connect to space, which is full of this kind of particleized energy. All of it interconnected. And since it's beyond comprehension or the ability to visualize, we simply relax in the present moment and contemplate this silence of space. No color code necessary. Then to start the healing practice of what we call the 5 elements healing, you start to meditate by imagining this 3-colored particle of energy as tiny as you can imagine in the center of your heart chakra. And we start with the heart energy area of the body because it symbolizes the basis of everything we do as kindness and compassion. Tender-heartedness. And focusing on that particle, you start the practice by expanding it into a tiny sphere of clear light. And then you expand it further, and as it expands, it creates in its expansion the 4-sided red pyramid of the element of fire or radiation, light. Keep it about the size of your thumbnail or smaller, right in the center of your heart chakra, and see it with whatever color red you like. And allow that to flood your stream of being in almost the same way as you did with your absorption breath. Then visualize it to move out in front of your body and up before your eyes, about 2 feet in front, and take the place of the space or blend with that place you started your practice with. And keep the red code. And imagine this red illusory symbol of fire to expand inside large enough so that you can see your body just the way you are, comfortably sitting inside. As this takes place, you're not only receiving a quantum application of this element of fire, but also the other 4 elements, because they can't be separate. Some of us actually experience a feeling of warmth spreading through our physical form. That's okay. The next step of this healing practice is to expand it to completely enclose the neighborhood or area, town, city, or island where we live, where we're doing this practice. For us, we envision the island of Kauai and surrounding ocean inside, and all the sentient beings living there, sharing in this unlimited healing energy method. Then we expanded in size to completely enclose Mother Earth, including her atmosphere. Then we imagine it to grow in size to completely enclose our solar system, all the planets and the sun inside. And one more step in meditation is to expand it to include our entire dish-shaped spiral galaxy. And since the mind is all pervasive, we move beyond the boundaries of the mental application of the imagination to merge with boundless space. No reference to center or circumference or boundary, just space. Everything starts here, like out of the sky, and everything returns here. To enhance your practice, keep your wavering mind to the present moment. If it strays to the past, gently bring it back. If it wanders into the future, again, bring it back to the present. Enjoy the silence. And to continue the practice, return from this dimension of being to again visualize the red pyramid of the element fire to enclose the galaxy. Shrink it to just enclosing the solar system. Smaller and smaller to just enclosing Mother Earth. Imagine it shrinking to just enclosing your island or area of practice. Then again to just you inside, receiving the full force, I should say life force, or support of all the elemental energy of this universe into your form. Then finish your practice by again imagining it to a small pyramid in front of your eyes, 2 feet in front. Then the chest level into your heart chakra. Condense it to a tiny clear light sphere. Shrink it down to this infinite microcosm of space. And again, relax. Beyond the need for mind. No meditation. No application. No separation. Then bring the practical application, the result of this healing practice, awareness in itself, to in front of your eyes and spread it into your place of practice. And of course, dedicate the results to all living beings. And we take a short break. Talk nice, drink tea. I'm drinking smoky tea. Earl Grey smoke. It's really Now, as we progress through this elemental practice, using three lights of the breath, focus, and imagination, and the result of the healing practice, which anybody can do without the Lama's transmission. Of course, the Lama befriends you with yourself. That's what we're for. You know, like we're going to introduce you to what we call the Yidam, and she's going to introduce herself to you. And when we use the Yidam practice, it is a blending of the all-pervasive nature of consciousness being unrestricted. And accepting that as an actual reality, you quickly progress beyond the drama state, the monkey mind. Okay? It's just an automatic effect, result. Now, when they started this in the old tradition, which is called the Nyingmapa, in the transmission of the Buddha's teachings and the Dharma and all that to Tibet, it was actually three people who had developed their awareness in previous lives to bring this to Tibet at a certain time. And it was around the 8th or 9th century. And when they did this in collusion, which is a big political thing going on here, the purpose was to help the Tibetan people transform from their tribal nature involvement with the spirits methodology to a more karmically appropriate way of doing it, or accomplishing the same thing, which was to survive. Because as you know, Tibet's mostly a desert. And above a certain altitude is very dry. And that's where a great part of the population is living. So the transmission was accomplished through a Trishan Dechen, who was the king of a huge area of Tibet. And he had a polygamous relationship with many women, as what they call wives. But they didn't have marriage as a sacrament. They don't do that. In fact, the only people that I do that think of it that way are religious. But this was useful because they treated the environment as this mother principle like we just did with these 5 elements, but they incorporated the spirit, which are the majority of sentient beings on this planet, and in you. And they used this to get water, rain, for their barley crop. So Trishan Dechen had this large group of women, concubines, consorts, whatever you want to call them, as helping him run his show. Also, he had, what do you call it? Sorcery people. Okay.
Wizards.
Shaman.
Yeah, wizards. They call them
Wizards?
in the books.
Wizards, okay. Shaman. But mostly, in fact, entirely men. And Baba knew in his wisdom that he, being a foreigner, actually he came from Kashmir, and he entered Tibet through the pass of Nepal. It wouldn't be good for him to deal with these guys. You know, the macho thing. So he asked to try some ditching for one of the women. And the king asked him, take your pick. I got more coming. So he grabbed one, he took one. Her name was Yeshe Soygal. That became her Tibetan name. In the wisdom mode. And they went away. And 3 years, didn't come back for 2 or 3 years. So what was going on is Baba was training this woman to be the one to deal with the shaman with the approval of the king. And when she came back, they held a big get-together and all the shamans came and they all did their trickery, their magic, wizardry, sorcery, I call it, and tried to take her out, actually killed her. And whatever they did, it is said that everything turned into more and more light and rainbows and flowers falling out of the sky. Nice things happened. And when they finally gave up, she simply said, you don't need to do this killing of your animals and women and children anymore. You don't need to be cannibalistic to get through the winter and so forth. And she said, all you need to do is make an offering of what you already have, what you consider precious. And they said, for you guys, it's your meat and your alcohol. Because they made chong, which is called beer, from their barley, fermented barley. And of course, that was their bliss, you know, to get high, drunk, especially at high altitude. Not a good idea to take alcohol. I found that out on the top of Mauna Kea. So they said, okay. And the king ordered them, they had to follow her advice. So this is what her aspiration prayer. And here's a picture of her with her purba and a mala. Purba is a wrathful practice called Vajrayogini, which is the Nyingma's version of what we call Mahakal. In any case, these two, the mala symbolizes the sutra and the purva symbolizes the tantra, which is mostly what this class is about. But the connection is this state of voidness, which we just did with the 5 elements. We went to space, macrocosm, and we came back to the universe and went to the microcosm. Well, they're the same thing. You know, scientists approach them differently, but they're the same thing. So here's what she said. Oh, and remember, her teacher was Thomas and Bob. Emaho. Now, those 3 words in Tibetan are wow. E is the sound of energy. Ma is the mother of space. And Ho is the result. Voidness, a state of infinite potential. Not nothing, as the Hindus call Brahman, state of Brahman, but a state of anything's possible. But you have to be able to imagine it and focus to produce it, which we just did with the 5 elements. And then here's what she said. Came off. Through the merit we have accumulated in the past and in the 3 times, the present and our future, may all the demons, obstacles, and opposing forces be pacified. And may this be accomplished along with us having long life without sickness and disease, which I'm experiencing. Just don't know. Especially disease. And may we practice this Dharma in happiness and well-being. By the power of practicing this Dharma with devotion and respect for ourselves and others, may the teachings of the original Buddha spread and flourish. And by establishing this samsaric judgmental sentient being and all of them in happiness, may the wishes of the Lama Gurus be completely fulfilled just as they have. Through the Guru's kindness, may we, all Dharma brothers and sisters, we say Vajra brothers and sisters, be free of kleshas or emotional discomfort of anger and attachment and so forth. And endowed with this, may the splendor of the 3 vows of body, speech, and mind be simply a pure and appropriate discipline. May we increase the qualities of the experience and realization through this and all future lives. By the wisdom of realizing Mahamudra, or Dzogchen, as it was called, mind of bliss, may we benefit whoever we meet. And together with all brother and sister followers, may we enjoy unconditional great bliss, the result of practice, and be guided to the lotus ray realm, rebirth after rebirth. In that supreme and sacred blissful situation, may we be one with the stainless, victorious body of the Buddha, our own true nature. And all of the gurus of the 3 vehicles, including my teacher, Orgyan Padma, realize the Dharmakaya that benefits each and every one of them. The Dharmakaya is all pervasive. Through the compassion that arises through practice, may this always benefit others. Until this samsara state of judgment and emotionality is emptied, may retain beings by teaching whatever way is necessary and appropriate. May we work for the benefit of all beings through the Rupakaya and its manifestations. The Rupakaya is the Yidam. Tonight we're going to do Vajrayogini. May we accomplish the benefit of beings by stirring the depths of this emotionally dysfunctional world and allow the 3 vehicles of body, speech, and mind become inseparable, transforming all of this into a state of nirvanic bliss, each and every one totally free or liberated. Unfabricated, spontaneously present, luminous, and uncompounded, this vehicle of the body Vajra holder, may it remain changeless throughout the 3 times. May this omniscient situation simply be a complete enlightenment program swiftly attained. Om. Om. This prayer was spoken by Yeshe Sogyal, the shamans of Tibet, and was taken from the Congo name chain, the teaching of the essence of the Dakini, which starts with our own mother. That's it. So that's the very last of this book. As they say in Tibet, a mirror woman. So much for that. Any questions about that? Cool, huh? Hey, Maho. Okay, so last week, yeah, yeah,
That sounds a lot like the prayer that Yeshe Chogyal made when she left Tibet. Is it the same prayer, just translated differently?
I don't know. I think so.
I'll send you the copy I have. It's a lovely translation.
Yeah, there might
Thank
be
you.
different translations. You know, we had a lot of Lotsawa translators because they had 8 dialects in Tibet, 8 different
Wow.
influences of countries: China, Afghanistan, you know, Nepal, all these different, Mongolia. So I had 8 dictionaries. And yes, there might be many translations. Yes, send me a copy, please. They're all appropriate.
Okay.
And the most appropriate book that I use with this Dakini instruction is the lotus-born Padmasambhava's advice to his consort, Yeshe Soyga. And if you can use that reading of that book as a guide for your internal development, it's very, very good. So it's called the Lotus Advice to the Conscious, Padmasambhava Guidance to Yeshe Soyga. And then she became the first Tibetan monk. And the Nyingmapas don't let you forget that. The Kagyus and the Sakyas and the Gegupas, they kind of get more masochistic about it. Masking about it. So last week we introduced the wrathful deity, of which is very important in Yidam practice of transforming the mind into its true nature of compassion, power, and insight, based on body, speech, and mind of being a human being, man or woman. And those 3 vehicles, compassion, power, and insight, have to be brought together with the body, speech, and mind being brought together, which is what we did with the 5 elements. And that's for the power almost infinite, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, starts to develop. And when you move into the Yidam practices, they're all based on the Nungro of the 4 basic tantric practices. The first one we did was taking refuge, but that's blended with making prostrations to the refuge tree, which is this symbol over here. And then purifying with Vajrasattva and Vajrayogini. Well, that's Shenrezi and Tara. And the deity we're going to not use tonight, Vajrayogini, is part of that practice. And then developing assistance by accumulating what you need for support in the practice. That's accomplished through what we call the mandala practice and other offering practices. And then taking those 3 and extending it in devotion and respect to the source, the Lama. Not the outer Lama so much as your own inner Lama, which we call your Buddha nature. But those 2 working together are the Yidam. Those 4 working together. Those 4 preliminary practices, they're called Nungro. And they're time consuming. It took me 8 years to accomplish because they required 111,000 of each of those practices, which actually developed into about 500,000 with Lama Rinpoche's guidance. But at the same time, while you're doing this, you're accomplishing these Yidam practices, which you're receiving the transmission like the one you're receiving tonight, from a qualified Lama. who is doing those practices. And so the Lama as the source, if he gives you this transmission of the Yidam, he or she, that's their practice. They're doing this. So tonight we're going to do Vajrayogini. Well, Vajrayogini, as I said, is part of Vajrasattva. She's the wrathful form of any one of the 5 elemental taras. And she amplifies power. Now, everybody wants to be powerful. In fact, in the West, it's the main game. But it's called dominance. And it usually involves violence, which is a big no-no. Violence how? Violence through speech, violence through activity, violence through thinking, okay? Emotional discombobulation. So when we use Vajrayogini, I have a picture here, and she appears in what we call the 5 elemental forms, just like Tara. Now, they don't usually explain Tara in each of the lineages that way because they each have their own specialty or app of Tara. But in our lineage, the Kagyu lineage is the most prolific. Like there's 12 living teachers on the planet and 4 of them are women. They stress green Tara. Now, the color green is about prana, air, energy, and so forth. But what it simply means is that's shared by everybody. So we're in this, all of this pain and suffering game together, and we want to get out of it and the cause of it. So she appears with these 5 color codes. But the most important is the red Vajrayogini. And she is depicted usually with Vajrasattva, which purifies all your past karmic accumulations and takes away the result of negative karma that would hinder your practice of being the Yidam.
Why is she the most important?
Because she represents what comes in your eyes. These 3 eyes. These 2, light energy, everything that appears is radiation, a form of radiation. Okay? And the inner thoughts also appear as a form of radiation or light. So she represents that as a healing energy we call fire, as the all-pervasive light of the boundless space. Now, why don't they start with the space element? It's because it's outside the box completely. You can't comprehend space. That's voidness. That's what we call sunyata. It's what produces bliss and infinite power and the ability to accomplish whatever you desire. You got to watch out for desire. So she's the desire mode. She's standing, and she is naked, and she has a staff with a Vajra handle at the bottom, which comes up to the top and has 3 heads on it. The staff running through these 3 heads. One is the God realms, the second head is the human head, and the third head is the demonic spirit. Okay, so she penetrates these 3 realms as a very powerful, wrathful Yidam. She also has a hook knife, which if you look at the picture of Vajrasattva, is behind his head. And a skull cup, which is the bliss energy of your mind, used as the 5 dhyana Buddha, this being one. This, okay? And this is to sever the idea of egocentric I, me, mine drama world. Cut the root. So this deals with the root cause of all pain and suffering 8 different ways, just like the medicine Buddha does. And she has 5 skulls on her head, which symbolize the 5 dhyana Buddha. And then in her other hand, she's actually drinking the bliss from the top part of the skull cup. Okay. I used to have one, but I gave it to somebody doing a Vajrayogini, which but we have this. But just like we did Vajrapani last week, she is the conflict. And she represents how do you deal with this sorcery itself? People that are sending you hatred and you don't know why. They don't know why. They just know you as like American, gringo, or whatever. And they hate you for that. But that's a form of incoming negative energy. It's not nice. But it comes in spirit forms if they imagine some demonic spirit force, which they have mapped out, to be the carrier of it. So this is to deal with that. It's also to deal with the religious. All religions have harmful application. They condone violence. Even Buddhism, forms of Buddhism. And because of that, that energy is in our social situation. So it deals with that. And then the spirits themselves are like certain animals and like most humans, they're antagonistic. They're emotionally conflicted. And they're not conducive to good health. They cause disease. Okay? And the symptomatic essence of this is virus, bacteria even. And in our world, we're dealing with these various diseases, physical, mental, emotional, in some cases spiritual, symptomatically. Okay, Abby does it with massage, symptomatic application, and herbology and other good advice. And that's good. So we have all these symptomatic applications, but we want to deal with the cause. Cut. So it doesn't hinder our progress towards higher states of awareness we call transcendental realization. Or the ultimate realization of everything as it really is and how to use that. Avoid the infinite potential program, which is very similar to what we call the cloud with the computers on this planet, which are used in various ways. So we're connecting. This is a grid, we're connecting to it. But you're not the only ones doing this. Everywhere on the planet, men and women, Sangha members, are doing this exactly the same thing you are, with the same motive, altruistic motive, and aspiring to basically the same things you are. Good health. Physical, mental, emotional, and of course spiritual. Good health. Why? Because it's appropriate. It's practical. And it gets you what you need. So you don't need to be needy anymore. And you can develop fearlessness. Now the Lama is supposed to be the ultimate projector of this quality. So from birth, I have that. Now I went back to the I, me, mine. But this aspect of fearlessness is dangerous. It can get you into a lot of trouble. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble. And I have a few broken bones and so forth in my physical situation to show for it. But somehow, some way, I weathered through it. But fearlessness is applied to the application of who you think you are. And you got to get rid of that. And you've got that so strong in your sight when you even think about abandoning who you think you are. It gives you a body or goosebumps or the hair stands up. So, the 8 aspects of the medicine Buddha is incorporated into the Yidam. 5 of them are the emotional abandonment program, or transformation of these negative emotions, judgment, and so forth. And 3 of them are to deal with sorcery and the spirits themselves and harmful religion. That's it. Okay, so that's the symbol, the 8-spoke wheel. And she stands on an 8-petal lotus to verify that. And around her head are 50 fresh cut human heads. Now you can think of the Amazon and cannibalistic tribes that chop up human beings and eat them and so forth. They're into that. They used to do that. But this is to symbolize all these negative connotations and ideas of how you think some things are. And by one, you wear them as a symbol of your development. We call them merit. Like in the Girl Scouts, merit. But merit doesn't mean merit. Merit means spiritual.
So are the 50 heads, 50 basic choices?
Yeah, 50 basic negative ways of thinking about yourself, others, and the world. They've mapped all this out. They've had 2,600 years to do this. The Buddha got the ball rolling and they've embellished. Well, that's what we call the Sutra and Tantra, embellishment of the Buddha's teaching. And it's not a religion. But most Buddhists think it's a religion. So you don't have to be everybody's a Buddhist. Everybody wants to know what's really going on. But when you go into this power mode, it speeds things up. So you got to be really careful. The Lama and this Yidam are inseparable. You need this guidance, this outer wisdom program, because you're going to run into difficulty. I ran into difficulty. And my main difficulty was fearlessness itself. I had to modify it. Because in some cases, it's suicidal. Not good. Okay. So she's standing on the human form. It can be male, it can be female. But every life you get a human form. They start off equal, but they're karmically different. They all have pain and suffering, so we're equal on that. They all have these 8 problems as the cause of all the symptomatic disease.
Is it just one human, or I thought it was a couple?
What?
That she's standing on?
No, in this case is just the singular.
Oh,
okay, with Vajrayogini, he doesn't even need that.
right.
Okay, but when you get into the more wrathful aspects like Vajrayogini, then they start showing couples having sex under each foot. Left foot humans having sex. Right foot God's having sex. But that's all about bliss. Sex is supposed to be that way. But often isn't. So, and around it is like the sun. Okay, blazing and full of weapons. Now my favorite weapon, everybody likes swords and clubs and knives and daggers and cross-vajras, this silver line. Mine is the 6-pointed vajra. So it's not only the 4 going this way, but up and down. And purbas. We like purbas. Purbas is really Torji purba, Vajrayogini. Good medicinal application, but you got to do a lot of stuff. So, and immediately around her, she's radiating or receiving the light energy of space, which is depicted as blue with rays of light coming like out of the sky to form her. This Yidam form is illusory, and you become that. Now in the sutra, you do a sutra text, you're starting with the deity out in front as the teacher. But in our application, we're doing Tantra. We start with the teacher, this teacher Nelson to us, and then the transmission, we become the illusory body. And you apply that in worldly activity, outside of the meditation practice. You walk around like that. Got it. For girls. For animals, or spirits. But the real usefulness of this dealing with the spirit and your own emotion, conflicting idea. That's the real deal. And she has the 5 color codes: space, earth, water, fire, and so forth. Now you can look this up online. YouTube has lots of these. And this one we hang in the hallway. And, she's standing on a sun disk. And the body is under the sun disk on a moon disk. So she's sandwiching between the radiant light energy of the sun, which lights up more and more and more space, and the moon, which is kind of limited. Those symbolize the inner and outer states of awareness. And those are placed on the 8-petal lotus, which are dealing with all these difficulties. I'd call it the same, difficulty. So we're going to do this. And I'll put this in front of my teacher. My Guru Lama, Kala Rinpoche, Kala Yanti Rinpoche. And any Lama can back you up on this. And I'm going to start with the transmission of using the Dharmaru, which is how you call the Yidam, female Yidam energy, with the bell, which symbolizes all peaceful and wrathful deity, as a vibratory sound of the mantra. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with that. Then we'll give the transmission. Om baby dum. Then I'm showing a bupa. This is the base for empowerment that the lamas use, and they usually put saffron water inside. And you receive this actually in the empowerment. When you walk into the empowerment area, they pour some in your hand and you put it in your mouth and you spit it out. You see, it purifies your speech. So imagine you've accomplished that. And online. Okay, so we'll leave that there. And there's also one on the shrine, which is all the lineage masters and all of the Yidams are constantly pouring from that one. This one's for us and that one's from all of them. Then the transmission is given with the 3 vibratory sounds of Om, Ah, and Hum, visualized like this. Okay, this is for your body, this is for your speech, and this is for your mind. And we're going to start with that empowerment using the breath. As you breathe and visualize these 3 color codes, you are receiving the transmission of the Lama's body, speech, and mind into your body, speech, and mind. Okay, so we're going to do 3. Now it says 3 lights meditation connecting these 3 Buddha fields or energy fields of your own physical, oral, and mental disposition. Inhale white light into your lungs and imagine you hear the sound Om. Then as before, the white light becomes red light, energy through your body, pervading every cell. You visualize, you hear the sound Om. Then the third is for the mind. The first one was for the body, the second one is for the speech. This one is for the mind. And you exhale blue light to space, but as you exhale it out, combination of these first two, is the sound Hum, the sound of the medicine Buddha, Hum. Healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, all the aspects of your stream of being, and how to use these methods. So you're gaining insight in how to use them, knowledge. Inhale white light, here Om. Energy through the body, red light, here Om. The exhale of these two is causal healing of the body, speech, and mind, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, through space, to every being, spirit, animal, and human. So just breathe like that. Connect to these three color codes and these three sounds. And this fulfills the purpose of the deities moving you to the enlightenment of a Buddha, which is the original intent of Shakyamuni Buddha and all the teachers down to present time. But what you are receiving is the full impact of altruistic compassion with loving kindness as the mode, insight and knowledge on how to accomplish what you need for these practices, and the result, wisdom, which is higher state of awareness beyond judgmental mind, beyond reactive emotional samsara. And receiving the body, speech of the mind of the teacher and the lineage is to see the teacher in front of you, actually or imagine, and it can be any Lama, Dalai Lama, or any man or woman, or even Lama Tashi. Then with that visualization of the teacher in front, you see these three codes. The white light from the teacher's head into your head to empower your body for this yidam practice, illusory body practice. Then you see red light from the teacher's throat into your throat to empower your speech. So the result of being in the illusory yidam body comes out with mantra and kind speech. And then the blue light from the Lama's heart chakra in front into your heart connects the outer and inner support of insight or wisdom. But not only the realization of that, but how to use it to benefit more and more of the beings in this universe. Then you receive the fourth empowerment when you can see these three lights shining simultaneously into your three places And the Lama actually blends into you. So whoever you were imagining into you, like water into water. At this point, the three lights are now embodied in your central channel. It's called the Uma. It's connecting the 5 chakra energy points within the body, but the 3 we're concerned with is a white Om in the head, a red Ah in the sphere, a red light in the throat, and the blue Hum in the blue sphere in your heart chakra. Then you simply bring these 3 together in the heart chakra. The white Om moves down the central channel, connects, merges. With the red Ah, these 2 together into the Hum. And the Hum now disappears into this, or transforms and projects the seed cell of the Yidam. In this case, it's Vajrayogini, and she is red, and the seed cell is Ram. R-A-M, Ram, looks like. And it's red with a blue background, and it looks like this. Okay? Looks like a tilted eye with a dot. This is Ra, this is the M, Ma. Ram, okay? And it's on this chart. It's at the bottom inside the red pyramid, which we use for the healing practice tonight. And it connects directly with discerning awareness, which is Amitabha Buddha. He is visualized as the discerning awareness factor above your head. All of this comes from the basic practice of whatever Tara you're doing. And so we're going to do the few mantras of the green Tara and then the red Tara to establish the peaceful deity, which is the support for the wrathful deity. And even though you're jumping to this wrathful deity practice, it all evolves from the peaceful. So sit with your back straight. Start your Tara practice with whatever seed syllable you're using, Ram, Lam, Vam, Yam, Lam, or Tom. Tom is the predominant one. Be the peaceful deity of green Tara. Sitting, smiling, 2 arms. Right leg extended, left drawn in. Right hand open, palm outward, left hand holding the lotus of accumulating devotion, honor, and respect for wisdom. By your left ear, the sound of wisdom. She connects to your mother and all sentient beings as Tara, so that's your mandala of the peaceful deity. This makes the wrathful deity work without having to do that. So engage your mandala of your mother and all mother beings being the Yidam deity. This takes your mind into the infinite proportions of light throughout space and infinite sentient beings as the purpose of your practice. That causes the root mantra, heart mantra to evolve. Om Chara, Tu Chari, Tu Re, Soha. So those 10 letters surround the Tom, or whatever seed syllable you're using. The color code of the Tara in the mandala is up to you. Om Tara, Tu Tare, Tu Re, Soha. Om Tara, Tu Tare, Re So Ha. Om Tara 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 Re So Ha. So at least 21 taras of the peaceful Tara. Then she disappears, and the wrathful Tara appears with the Ram. And as she appears with the Ram sea syllable, you engage what is called the sixth realm, the four realms of the spirit world, and the two of the animal and human world. These were all sentient beings emotionally preoccupied their existence, and they cycle emotionally and judgmentally through these things. So this app is from the peaceful Tara becoming the power aspect of the Buddha's activity of body, speech, and mind to deal with that dysfunction of sentient beings. And the Dakini energy is blended with as the protector energy, which is usually the male aspect, together. So you have the yidams of the Dakini and the yidams of the male protector. And they work together to overcome all dysfunction of spirit, animal, and human influence, hindering our progress individually to higher states of awareness, to Buddhahood, full enlightenment. With that in your mind, in your heart mind, no boundary. This is all-pervasive mind working. Om Pema Dakini. Say that. Om Pema Dakini. Ram. Shri. Te. You can also say Om Pema or Lotus Condro, Tibetan for Dakini. Om Lotus Condro. Ram. Shri. Te. I like Dakini. Om Pema Dakini Ram Shri Te. 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 You're receiving the mantra transmission. It's called the womb. Om Pema Dakini Ram Shri Te. 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 Pema means Padma, the lotus. Om Vajrayogini Ram Hri Te. 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 And continue. On avoidance. Om Vajrayogini Ram Hri Te. Om Vajrayogini Ram Hri Te. Om Vajrayogini Ram Hri Te. Om Vajrayogini Ram Te. Om Vajrayogini Ram Hri 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 Te. Keeping your imagination and focus to you as the Dakini, staying the crown of Ram in your heart, the mantra circling, all letters facing outward, all energy exploding through your yidam body, out like the sun to space. This creates your sun mandala of light and protection around you. It's a universal application, just like the sun, filling up your part of the universe. Then you gather all sentient beings, all negative, into you, transformed into positive, into appropriate, beneficial. Then you, as Vajrayogini, as a representative of infinite sentient beings, your mother, disappear into the Ram, into the mantra in your heart center. the Om Pema Dakini Ram Hri Pe. Then with your discerning awareness equal to Amitabha Buddha, you disappear in the mantra into the Ram. The Ram disappears into the seed soul of Amitabha Shri. All that's left is infinite light of boundless space. Relax in the present moment. If you want, you can simulate the mudra of Amitabha Buddha by placing your right hand on top of your left, thumbs touching in your lap. No visualization. Just relax in bliss. Infinite energy, infinite power, infinite compassion and loving kindness. Equally applied to everyone. Then with this mudra, you add the mantra of Amitabha Buddha. And you and your Lama equal. Om Amitabha Deva Hri. 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 So your discerning awareness is about infinite light throughout space. So those become your energy source. Then you can return to the peaceful yidam or whatever practice you've been doing. I usually return to Chenrei Z. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Tari to Tari to So. Om Tari to Tari to Om Tari to Tari to So. 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 Om Mani Padme 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 So. Om Padme Om Mani 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 Padme We finish with the 8 thoughts of the great Bodhisattva, the dedication prayer. This applies to your yidam and all sentient beings as the purpose of your practice. By the power of the truth of this great compassion and of the excellent objects of refuge, the Lama, the deities, the Dakinis, and the protectors, all the yidams, and by the power of this merit and virtue of pure altruistic application, may I completely remove every misery of all living beings who fill the sky. By the perfect virtue of this world of nirvana as a state of peace and non-judgmental mind, may the hopes and desires of all beings be filled appropriately according to their wishes. May my own body, flesh, blood, skin, and so forth appropriately benefit all living beings. And may the miseries of all my old mothers, all living beings, come upon me. By taking and sending, may all my happiness and virtue be realized by them. For as long as I remain in this world, may there never arise, even for an instant, the thought of harming others, myself, or the environment. For the sake of living beings, may I energetically exert myself, not slacking for even an instant. And then our dedication prayer on the refuge. First in Sanskrit. Ewa di nurdu dong, chavya champo drugirne, torwa ching ching malu bong, hey sala kuparsho, sanjay kusum nimbai jumadam, choni negur dimbai jumadam, gendu niche dumbai jumaki, Chita Gomwang Molong Jum Parsho. By this virtue of having realized Mahamudra, and quickly established all being without a single exception in this state. By the blessing of the three bodies of the Buddha being accomplished, by the blessing of the truth of this Dharma being unchanging, and by the blessing of the wishes of the Sangha, that's that, being unwavering, may this dedication verily be fulfilled. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness, be away from suffering and the causes. May all be established in bliss through our practice in a state of equanimity, free of attachment, aversion, pride, jealousy, fear, anxiety, depression, etc. May all the lamas have long life, good health, happiness, and prosperity, and may all their wishes be fulfilled. Ruchi Che. Mahalo. Thank you.